Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong. I am doing a solo show today. No Jamie. Jamie is en route. He is on the plane. He is getting ready to go back to Canada. He was at Irish Invasion, so he is traveling today. He's going to be back with us on, I think it is Wednesday, and we're going to talk about Irish Invasion. We're going to talk about his thoughts on the recruiting weekend. I'm busy tomorrow on our normal recording day, Tuesday. And we didn't want to wait until Wednesday to talk about all the recruiting stuff because I know people are very interested in that, right? And it was a very good recruiting weekend for Notre Dame. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about all those things. So that's what's going on this week. So yeah, Jamie will be back Wednesday. I'm going to talk about recruiting, where things are going, the recruits that were on campus this last weekend. Bronte Johnson is on campus right now, so there will be an update on him. When he leaves, he's going to be leaving, I think it is tomorrow, right? So today is Monday, June 5th. So we're going to be talking about all those things. Thank you, everyone, for joining the show. If this is your first time catching Hit and Hustle, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and check us out on our podcast feeds. If you're into audio pods and don't like the video version, check us out. Links in the description below. You can find us there. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, all over the place. Anywhere you find your pods, you can find us there. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're watching on replay, thank you for catching the replay as well. And before we get started, I want to talk to you about ESQ Clothing. And Ga Wang is bringing out the world's first bamboo dress shirt. It's got stretch. It's got it's wrinkle resistant, odor resistant, machine washable. Looks sharp. Marcus Freeman's wearing it all over the country, and you can wear it too. Go over to esqclothing.com. Upgrade your shirt game. It's the best stuff. I'm telling you. You won't want to buy another dress shirt if you're a professional. You know you got the you get the casual, the business casual outfit going all the time. You want to go to esqclothing.com. He's going to take care of you. He's going to get all the best stuff you can get. You're not going to want to wear another dress shirt probably ever again. So check out esqclothing.com. All right, everybody. Joe Bro is here. He says, what's good? I think he thinks Jamie's going to be here. Obviously, Jamie will be back on Monday. So we're going to talk to Jamie about Irish Invasion. He had so many thoughts on the Irish Invasion, guys, and who looked good and who didn't look good. A lot of 2025 prospects. And so he was on site and he was watching those guys. So he's going to have a huge update on Wednesday. We're going to talk about that. So let's talk about the first official visit recruiting weekend. Okay, so this is the first weekend that Notre Dame is hosting. It was a really big one, right? Especially for the offensive line, running back, safety. Those three positions were the main ones that Notre Dame was hitting this weekend. They really needed to hit a home run on the offensive line, especially because you had Styles Prescott on campus, you had Gary B. Lambert on campus. You already had Anthony Knapp, he was there, and Peter Jones as well. So you had potentially the entire offensive line class on campus for Notre Dame this weekend. Notre Dame really wanted to make a good impression. We're going to talk about those guys in a second. But first, I want to talk about Marcus Freeman and how he gets recruiting, right? And I put up a tweet over the weekend. Julio Scott's Notre Dame's resident barber, right? He's doing everyone's hair. He's doing a good job with everyone's hair. And here he is. This is his profile here. We'll give him a little shout out at Exclusive Studios. And so here's the thing. He's sharing a picture here. Haircuts, Exclusive Studios, right? So obviously on the official visit, the players can come in and they can get haircuts from Julio. And I said, Marcus Freeman gets recruiting. And when we say he gets it, please believe he gets it, right? And someone commented to me about, it's not that big a deal, right? It isn't. The other schools do that. The SEC, they have barbers. It's the whole thing, right? And okay, that's not really my point. Here's the point with the Exclusive Studios, with Julio and what he can do and bringing them on campus to meet the recruits and that sort of thing and making him part of the recruiting pitch, right? This is the official visit weekend. He's a part of the recruiting pitch here. And I think the point behind that is when Notre Dame is asking players to come from Texas, right? Or come from Massachusetts, come from all over the country, right? To attend their school in South Bend, Indiana. What you're essentially saying is, you're going to be away from home. It's hard to be at Notre Dame, right? We've seen it how many times. Logan Diggs leaves the program, didn't like it. Just didn't. He didn't fit in, right? It wasn't working for him. Living in South Bend wasn't working for him, and I think that's a lot for a lot of players, right? And Notre Dame needs to be able to overcome that. And a little thing like, hey, when you come to Notre Dame, you're going to have a barber. You're going to have someone who can line you up, and it's important to these guys. It really is. Like getting a good fade, getting that good lineup. It's important, right? And it makes me think of when my wife was. So when we started dating, my wife and I. She lived in Manhattan. She lived in New York. And when we met, she was kind of in the process of coming back to Los Angeles. So it wasn't going to be a long distance thing forever. But when she initially made the move, she had been in New York for 5 years. She had her favorite kind of coffee. And I think everyone can understand this, right? You have your favorite kind of coffee place. You like to go. You like you like to get they make it the way you like it. And it's kind of unique, right? She doesn't like chains. Don't like chains. She doesn't like Starbucks, and she doesn't like all that stuff, right? She wants her own coffee place. And when she moved to LA, it was hard for her, just like she'd been away. She had been in Manhattan for 5 years. It was just like hard. And so she kind of set out on a quest. When she first started, it was, I want to find a coffee place that I can go. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel centered, right? And it took her a couple months to find that place. And when she did, then she was able to settle in. Right. And I think this is a similar thing. And Joe Bro makes a good point in the comments. Looking for a barber, it's like looking for a church. It's very important. Like it is. It is. You have to find a guy. You need to have a guy. Right. And if there's someone in town who doesn't do it the way you want, like it doesn't, you're not centered. You don't feel right. It doesn't make you feel comfortable. Right. And that's what this is. Marcus is bringing Julio on campus, introducing the recruits. Like, hey, when you come here, you're going to have a barber. Everyone likes him. Marcus goes to him, right? Marcus Freeman on the cover of GQ, right? And all those things, wearing ESQ clothing, all about town, clearly cares about his style and his fit. And this is his barber. And he says, hey, this is going to be your barber too. When you come to South Bend, when you come to Notre Dame, this is what it's going to be, right? And I think that's important. And I think that's what Marcus Freeman gets about recruiting, and that's what makes him a good recruiter. Now, that being said, just because he brings the barber on campus, that doesn't mean he's going to land all the 5 stars. Like, it doesn't mean that he's doing, like, I'm not going to say he's doing a great job because of this, or it means he's going to land a bunch of 5 stars. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he understands recruiting. He understands relationships in a way that a lot of people don't. And I think that's important. And I think when you're looking for him, he has to overcome things. He can't just throw money at kids, right? That's not what Notre Dame's doing. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We know that, right? We know that. So he has to find ways to meet these kids where they are, to connect with them, because he can't just throw money at the situation, right? And I think that's where Marcus Freeman gets it. And that's something that I appreciate about him. Just kind of as an observer of the way that he goes about his business. People talk about him being a genuine guy all the time. I think this is where it shows through. I think that's where it shows through. So it's just something I wanted to highlight, right? I think it's an important thing. And I think it leads to, good weekends like they had this weekend here. I'm going to put up Rajon's comment. Most of these kids will be away from home for the first time. Things like having the bother shows the kids that Freeman Notre Dame staff have their back. Exactly. They know. They understand. Like, it's important to the players, right? You want to have guys who can, you want a guy to go to, right? And they understand. And Marcus Freeman gets that. And if he gets that, then he gets a lot of other little things too, right? And it just goes back to being a player's coach in that sense. It's like being able to relate to the players and understand where they're coming from. All right, let's talk about some of the recruits. Let's start with the offensive line. Styles Prescott and Gerby Lambert. First, I'm going to talk about Prescott. Prescott is let me just pull him up here. Did I miss him? There we go. Styles Prescott, 283, number 283 recruit in the class per composite on 247. He's out of Indiana, and he's going to be he's being recruited as offensive tackle. This is his 3rd trip to Notre Dame in a very short time, right? So he was on campus in the spring a couple of times. Notre Dame thought that there's a good chance he's going to pop then, but he didn't, right? He waited a little bit. and he wanted to come back. They got him on an official, and this is a very important visit. They need to lock him up, right? They need to get him going. They need to get him into the class. Like I said, he's a tackle. You have Peter Jones. You have Anthony Knapp. Jamie thinks that Anthony Knapp could play both sides. I think they look at Peter Jones as an interior player. Jamie thinks Anthony Knapp could be a guard and a tackle. But Styles Prescott will be a tackle when he comes in. And they need tackles, right? You got a lot of inside players right now. Joe Alt's going to be leaving the program. Blake Fisher's going to be leaving the program. Emil Wagner, he's got to get bigger, right? And you just need numbers there, right? The Sullivan Absher, he's going to be a tackle, but he's got a lot of seasoning to do because of the fact that, he's coming from a run-oriented offense. He's got to get up to speed on that sort of thing. So it was very important they get Styles Prescott in the class, right? Now, Styles Prescott isn't the most, highly ranked player, right? And I think when we talk about these offensive linemen, we need to remember that this isn't Jamie's favorite class for the offensive line, period, right? Even Gerby Lambert, like he has him below. He would have rated lower as a prospect than Emil Wagner from a couple cycles ago, right? So that's important to keep in mind. But you still need – it's not like he's a bad player, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the numbers are a little bit different, right? But you do need tackles, as Notre Dame 2164 says. Tackles are definitely needed, right? So you got to get them in the class. And from all accounts, from all sounds of it, it sounds like Notre Dame hit a home run with Styles Prescott, right? He liked his visit. Notre Dame is in as good a position as they've been with him. I'm not going to say he's committed or anything, but it just you get that feeling that Notre Dame feels very confident about where they are with him and where they are with the recruitment with him. They brought him in first weekend, right? They didn't wait. They didn't try to get him in a couple weekends from now. They didn't want to wait on that. They got him in on the first weekend. Same with Gerby Lambert to meet the other offensive linemen. Obviously, Notre Dame's making a big push here, and it sounds like they did. It sounds like the visit went really well. I would be very surprised at this point if Styles Prescott did not end up in the Notre Dame class in 2024, right? Which is obviously very important for them, right? As Notre Dame 2164 said, they need tackles. It sets them up to have a good class. I think they're going to take 4, right? And they want Gerby Lambert to be the fourth one. And on Gerby Lambert, it sounds like confidence is very high with him, with the class, with the staff. Personally, I feel a little bit hesitant about the confidence there, not because of that I think they're wrong or their read is wrong or whatever. Their read is their read. And if they feel like it's there, it's there. It's that Lambert's just kind of hard to read, right? This is his second visit that we know about to any school, right? He's been to Boston College and that's it. He went to Notre Dame. You don't know about other visits that are set up. Is he going to take those visits? How does he feel about those visits? Like, how does he actually feel about being on campus? Obviously, he had a lot of nice things to say about the visit itself. And I encourage everyone to go to IrishSportsDaily.com and check out the write-up that Christian McCollum had on Gerby Lambert. That's on the website right now. Talked about his visit, talked about how he felt about the visit. I was talking to him a little bit yesterday, and he says the Notre Dame staff feels confident, but it's not the same kind of confidence that they have with Prescott and some of the other players that were on campus. So that's a little bit different, right? But as of today, I think that Notre Dame is definitely in position to land Styles Prescott. I think Notre Dame is definitely in a good position in their mind to land Lambert right now. That's the sort of thing that could change very soon, very soon. I mean, Lambert could go on another visit somewhere and he could love it. And it's like, oh, I don't know. And it's going to be hard to get information from him because it's been hard to get information on him just in general, right? And that's not a negative thing. It's just the reality of the fact that we are in an information world, right? All of us want the information on Gerby Lambert and how he feels and how Notre Dame feels and all those things. David Solomon says he's going to Ohio State and Penn State for visits. That's the thing. Like, he's scheduled to. Is he going to make those visits? Like, Notre Dame, it wasn't completely locked down that he went to Notre Dame, that he was going to come to Notre Dame on a visit till like the middle of last week. Like, even then, it was not super known that he was going to do that. That's what I'm saying with him. it's like you're not really sure what the timeline is. You're not really sure what his decision-making mode is. Like, that's the unknown part of it. And Joe Burrow, that's the point that Joe Burrow is making. It's like Lambert is an unknown. Like, you just don't know, right? He's not going to follow, I don't think, the traditional way of we're used to things happening with recruits, right? They set their visits, they go on their visits, they talk. You get a good feel for it. Matt and Christian are able to talk to sources, and they get a good feel for it. And then, we go from there. Like, that's not what it is with Lambert. That's the only reason that I'm a little bit more hesitant to really have a good feel for him. Like, I feel good about Styles Prescott being in the class at this point. I do. And I think a lot of people do, right? So that's kind of where it is with him. With Lambert, it's a little bit different. But it was a good visit, right? And it was a necessary visit. And that's the thing, like we're talking about, I'm not sure that he's going to Ohio State. I'm not sure that he's going to Penn State. But we know he went to Notre Dame, and that's important, right? So he made the Notre Dame trip, gives them a chance, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So I would say at this point, very good visit for Notre Dame from Styles Prescott. Expect him in the class, and then we'll see on Gerby Lambert from there. But I think on the offensive line, I think it was a very important weekend, and I think they did a good job. All right, another place they did a good job was with Lufkin running back Kedron Young. I think he's 207 in the composite. Nationally, he is the running back that they want to, or they were thinking of pairing with Aeneas Williams, who is out of Missouri, and he's the more of a power guy. And I think Aeneas Williams is more of the slot. Get him in the slot. He's going to be more multiple with the way we use him, or I'm speaking as a Notre Dame coaching staff member. I do that a lot, and I shouldn't because I'm not on the Notre Dame coaching staff. But Notre Dame sees him as, playing like a kind of like the Kyron Williams, Theo Riddick, Chris Tyree type role, going into the slot and doing all those other things. I think Kedron Young is more of a, kind of a Logan Diggs type, or maybe even more of a Audric Estime type, where he's just going to be a runner. I think he's a really good runner, and I really like him. Derek Galloway, coming in on Cam Williams, is going to be that dude for Notre Dame football, potential first-round pick. I agree about that. Definitely agree about that. I think he's a really good player. I think he's going to be great, and I think he's a good talent. What about Aeneas Williams? Yeah, he's in the class, right? So Aeneas Williams, that's who Notre Dame wants to pair Kedron Young with. And while I'm talking about Kedron Young, let's throw up some highlights, because people like to watch highlights when we're doing this. All right, so there's Kedron Young there, wearing number 3, which, with Logan Diggs leaving the class, or leaving the program, it's a good fit for Kedron Young on that sense, if he wants to continue to wear number 3. I think a pretty good tell for how Notre Dame feels the visit went, and how Kedron Young maybe has made them feel about the visit, is that Xavier Robinson has canceled his visit. He will not be visiting Notre Dame, and that would not be happening if Notre Dame didn't think that this was going to happen, right? And I think Kedron Young has made them feel in a type of way that this is going to happen for them. I love the player. I think he's really good. I love the one cut that he has. There's long speed here. I think Jamie called him a rich man's Tony Jones. I think that's a good comp. The way that he runs inside, and I've said it before, and I don't know where Jamie comes out on this, but I'm saying it anyway because this is how I feel. I think he's a little bit less, like, as a college player now, like college, high school. I think he's a little bit less dynamic of Frank Gore. I just think he has that kind of body lean to him, where he is able to bounce off tacklers and use that to propel him into the secondary and around other tacklers, right? We're going to see some clips here where, someone hits him square and he sees that contact, bounces off that contact, and then it propels him around the corner right there, right? Like, he takes it and another defender's coming, and he almost uses it as a way to make a move on another defender, which is something I really enjoy from running backs. Like, I think that we always like it when a running back is not afraid of contact and can take the contact and then continue with the run itself, right? It's one thing to take contact and he falls forward for 3 yards. Kedron Young takes the contact. You're going to see it here. He's going to take a hit from the safety, and he's going to propel him around a corner right there. Takes the contact, didn't just fall forward. He used it to get around the corner and run for a touchdown, right? And that's one of my favorite things about him. I think his long speed is good enough, right? And I think that when we watch film, we really need to kind of change the way we think about long speed and what's possible with guys. Because how many times did we hear in the recruiting process, like Kyron Williams, not a home run hitter, happened all the time. Kyron Williams, not a home run hitter, and that's why he's a 3-star. That's why he's a low 4-star. He just he's not dynamic, can't hit the home run, no long speed, and on and on and on. And there's Kyron Williams going for 91 yards, and there's Kyron Williams going for 65 yards, right? And there's Kyron Williams going for 70 yards, right? Like, I think we need to change the way that we think about these guys in lieu of the fact that Kyron Williams was a dynamic player. It was not the fastest guy. He's a 4.6 40 guy, right? So there's always opportunities for players like Kedron Young who can find space, who can bounce off of tacklers. And even Tony Jones, right? We said rich man's Tony Jones. He's got an 85-yard touchdown run to his name, right? So it's like, look, you can make plays. If you're not a burner, that's okay. You can hit home runs, even if you don't have that speed. I think Adam Blair says faster object estimate. Maybe. I honestly, we haven't really seen object estimate in the open field yet either. So Derek Galloway says looks about a 4.6 runner. And as I was saying, 4.6 guy, he can hit home runs. There's no reason they can't. Derek Galloway's talking about if Jadarian Price can come back 100%, I believe he can be special. Personally, I think that's going to take a bit. I personally don't have a ton of expectations for Jadarian Price this year because of the injury and because, I think if Jadarian Price was going to be a big factor let's say it's the start of the year, right? I think we would have heard more about his progress in a positive way. And I don't think we have, right? It's just, they're trying to get him ramped up. And if you're still trying to ramp up now, you got to be careful. Derek says, sit him. Yeah, I mean, I think they should be comfortable with that, and I think that's why they brought in the Devin Ford from Penn State to give them that luxury of like, hey, don't worry about it. Notre Dame has Estime, they have Jabron Payne, they have Ford now, and then they have Jeremiah Love. That's 4 guys. They can be okay with that, right? And say, Jadarian, don't worry about it. We'll take you. We'll take your time. If make sure you're good to go. And then you can go from there. So that's where that's how I think they should handle Jadarian. And I think that's what Derek is saying as well. As far as Kedron Young, I spelled his name wrong on the Chiron, and I apologize. It should be Kedr. You know what? I'll just change it. So anyway, because I'm going to change it because we think he's going to be in the class because he is, Notre Dame canceled on Xavier Robinson, right? And he was going to be the kind of the big back in the class, right? It was those 2 guys that got Kedron Young in. And I think the fact that they scheduled, and we'll get to this with Paul Mankey as well. But I think the fact that they scheduled Kedron Young first is he was their first option. That's usually what it is. It's like if you bring in someone first, it's like you give them first crack. So Kedron Young comes in, he's ahead of Xavier Robinson, and they have now canceled Xavier Robinson. It makes me think they think they're going to get him, and they think that he's going to be in the class, right? Maybe he's told them that, right? I don't want to say he's a silent because I haven't heard that, but it just everyone's behavior at this point makes me think they strongly believe he's going to be in the class. Because once you cancel on Xavier Robinson, he's going to make another trip, right? He's going to go somewhere. He obviously had the weekends, scheduled off. If Notre Dame's going to move it, well, he's going to go to another school, And that's not usually how it works. Like, you usually don't have someone canceled and then it's like they bring him back, right? He's got to really love to want to come to Notre Dame. But all indications say Kedron Young's going to be in the class. And I thought it was interesting. Again, Christian has a write-up on Kedron Young on IRSportsDaily.com. I thought it was interesting that he said that he has spoken to Marcus Freeman a couple times on the phone, but his main relationship was with Dylan McCullough. And I thought that was interesting in terms of the way that Marcus Freeman may be approaching recruiting in the 2024 cycle, because his first year, it was all about, I'm going to be everyone's lead recruiter. He talked about that a lot. He mentioned that he was going to be the one who was at the front of basically every recruitment because he was the head coach. And, maybe that's coach speak a little bit, you don't want to hold him to it. But I think he definitely wanted to be at the forefront of everything. And, obviously he's spoken to Kedron Young, but they didn't have that kind of relationship. And I wonder if Marcus is saying, I don't need to be that guy. Maybe he evaluated the first year and thought there's some diminishing returns here. Like, maybe there were some recruits who said, hey, I want a closer relationship with my position coach, because that's the one you're dealing with on a daily basis, right? You're dealing with them all the time. Like, and not just with practice, and not just with the team. Personally, when I played, it was, you didn't call the head coach if you had problems. You didn't text the head coach when you had problems. You texted your position coach, and he sorted you out, right? Whether it was for school or whether it was for, housing or whatever. I mean, any problem like that, anything that came up that you needed to get handled, you went to your position coach. And I wonder if Marcus said, hey, like, I need to be present with these guys, but I don't need to be the lead guy talking to them all the time. Now, I don't know if that's the case, right? It was just something that struck me with Kedron Young. It's like he said a little bit about Marcus Freeman, but everything was about Coach McCullough and the way that their relationship was. And maybe it's just, maybe Notre Dame was able to differentiate, right? Maybe Marcus Freeman and Dylan McCullough and Chad Bowden said, hey, like, this is the type of player that doesn't need Marcus Freeman calling him all the time. Maybe it's a position coach thing, but I thought it was interesting, right? And obviously, whatever buttons they're pushing are working because it sounds like Kedron Young's going to be in the class, and so there's a lot of optimism there. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I think Notre Dame feels good, and I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic there. I'm checking some of the comments here. Let's go back to David Solomon's talking about I think this is Darian Price. I've heard he's 6 months away. Hamstring isn't healing yet. I don't think it would be the hamstring with him. I think it would be lower, like calf, maybe. Like, maybe there's a calf issue because that's all kind of connected, right? So the Achilles attaches from the basically the bottom of the foot all the way up. It attaches those muscles. So the bottom of the foot all the way up to basically the bottom of the knee. And so if the calf is, I mean, it's possible that he has tightness in the calf, which is leading to tightness in the hamstring, right? Which is, that's all connected as well. So that's possible what it is, but it's most likely calf tightness. And look, that's not good, right? Like, you need to get that sorted, so it's obviously it's important. And like I said, that Notre Dame has to be patient with him and, do a good job. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. David Solomon says calf, right? Michael Hahn says when your Achilles is torn, your calf muscle atrophies. Right. Yeah. So basically the calf muscle, and look, and that just means that the Achilles may not have healed as quickly as they want. And so what happens then is you're not able to work it out as much. And therefore the calf, as Michael Hahn says, it atrophies a little bit. And then you start to ramp up in the Achilles and the calf muscle it gets fatigued, right? And then it gets tight essentially. And if it gets tight what that essentially means too is you're injuring it, right? Those are tightness makes a small little injury in the calf muscle, right? That's what tightness is. A little bit of pain. It's like it's a little injury, right? And you got to be patient with it. This is totally off topic, but like speaking of injuries and playing through. Pat Kavanaugh in the men's lacrosse, that is insane. I can't believe that. There's a picture going around, and I if I had the time and I knew I was going to talk about this, I would have put it up. He has bruising on the back of his hamstring. Okay, so let me give you a little. As someone who's torn his hamstring a number of times as a former track athlete. So tightness, like I said, tightness is indicative of an injury. It's a small injury, right? So if you have tightness, so like if you hear someone, it's like, oh, his hamstring is tight. He missed 2 or 3 days of practice or whatever. Well, yeah, that's how long it is, right? For that to heal up, right? Well, if you have bruising, you definitely have at least a grade 2 strain, if not grade 3. The muscle pops, the blood rushes to the area, just like anything else, right? Like roll your ankle. It's gonna ball up. It's gonna get super swollen, and it's gonna get all purple and bruised, right? Because the blood rushes to the area. It's gonna try to heal it up, right? If you pull your hamstring like that, that is a grade 2 is like a month. You're out, right? I can't believe this kid played. That is unbelievable. And I would say if you are the type of person who, like, if we hear about a Notre Dame player grade 2 hamstring, do not expect them to play. That is not a thing. That is not a normal thing to happen. So I kudos to him. That is unbelievable. That is not something you play through. Let me tell you, it is just not. And for him to do it, and however I heard it was like the way they jimmied it with the band. It was like a military dressing that they put on that thing. I mean, that's incredible. So kudos to him and congratulations to the lacrosse team on their championship. That's good stuff. Sorry, we got off on a tangent about hamstring pulls and all that stuff, but I had wanted to talk about that last weekend because that's crazy. That is crazy. All right, let's move on. Oh wait, one more comment. The love of the game and competitiveness will get you through. Sometimes it doesn't, it sometimes it doesn't. I'm telling you, hamstring pulls. It's like, oh, I'm gonna drive the Indy 500 on like a flat tire. You don't. But credit, man, full credit to him. All right, let's talk about Paul Mankey Jr., the safety, also out of Texas, and this one's interesting to me. Jamie and I were talking about this last weekend. Last Wednesday. And we were talking about whether he was a take or not. Because we weren't sure. It's not like it had nothing. It wasn't a question of his ability. It was just like we had heard about other safeties. And so it was just a question of like, if he wanted to commit, would Notre Dame take it? And I thought, well, again, getting back to the timing of the visits, they brought him in first. If he wasn't you don't bring in a guy an official visit on the first weekend, and then you say, well, hold off. Wait, we have other guys coming in. That's not usually how it works. You bring in your top guys first, and then you move on, right? And from all accounts, Notre Dame pushed for a commitment, and then we get word similar to Xavier Robinson. Notre Dame's canceled on Marquise Gallegos, which hurts my feelings because I think full disclosure, Marquise Gallegos is my top safety that Notre Dame is after. Dewan Lane was number 2. I mean, he's committed to Penn State, so that's no good. But so, at Paul Mankey Jr., they brought him in first. Notre Dame pushed for him. Marquise Gallegos cancels a visit. So, do the math on that sort of thing, right? This isn't a player we've actually looked at the film. So I'm going to put up some Paul Mankey Jr. film, and we're going to talk about him. He is a low 4-star prospect, again, out of Texas. He wears number 31, which I like. It reminds me of Sergio Brown a little bit, which and they play similar games too. I don't think he's as good an athlete as Sergio Brown was, but they play similar games. So let's put up Paul Mankey Jr. Here he is playing offense. Now, I would like to see from the safety position. I would like to see more ball production. Okay, there's not as much ball production that I would want to see from the safety position, but he has so many plays as an offensive player where he's making a play on the ball, adjusting to the ball, high pointing the ball. This is a really good chase down play by him. And I think that here we go. So he comes up, makes the tackle. I think he's really good in the run game. They've got him in a kind of a hybrid role, frankly, very similar to Rizak, the way that he plays. I think they play a similar position, right? And I think that I could see them playing a similar role in the defense, with Rizak playing more of a linebacker on that sense. This is a really good break, and that's a really good ball skill play. I like him undercutting the route there, reading a good play. So here he is, again, kind of close to line of scrimmage, making the play ahead of the linebackers, right? Like he reads run and plays the run in a very sound way. He doesn't come with a ton of force, right? Like he doesn't, like when a guy like Kyle Hamilton comes in and hits you, like he hits you, like you are done with the play, right? And Paul Mankey Jr., like he'll hit you, but it's not like he's not killing you, right? Like that's a really good tackle. Although the running back was off balance there, you understand. But here's another one where he's going to play on offense, and they're going to throw a jump ball to him. Looks like end of the, and he goes up and gets it, right? Now those are good ball skills, right? So you understand, like you don't see a ton of ball production on defense, and that's fine, but you do see it on offense, right? Here he is in kind of a hybrid position, right? Like he's not really playing deep half. He's not really playing deep middle. He's kind of like at 10 yards, 8 yards off the ball. He comes up and makes a play in the run game. Here's another one where he's going to come up and hit somebody, right? Like he smacks him, but the running back kind of moves forward a little bit, and then his teammates come in. So like he does. He's not like a huge thumper, but he's really good in terms of his angles, in terms of his run fits. Here's another one. We're going to throw him a jump ball, like really good ball skills again, right? So we're not seeing the ball skills as a safety, but he's 6'2", right? He's 180, so he's going to fill out a little bit. Could he grow? Could he get to 6'3", right? You don't know. I think Notre Dame obviously likes the bigger safeties, obviously like the length, right? They're going after a ton of length here. I kind of wonder what happens on this play because he gets on the sideline and they cut it off. What happened there? You know, did he drop it? Did he get caught? I don't know. But so you see those types of plays there on offense where it's like, okay, got ball skills. He can go high point it and that sort of thing. He's not. So again, he's not my top safety, right? And so like the fact that they are canceling Gallegos. The fact that so Jay says, and this is a good point, and there's a point that I was going to make. The staff loves length, and Gallegos is small. He's not small, but he's definitely he's not as long as Mankey is. That's true, and he's certainly not as long as Bronte Johnson, right? Bronte Johnson is, long is long. Right? Wide and all those things. So that makes sense. Okay. In terms of the type. All right. Gallegos is like 6'1", 6 foot. I don't like it when they get married to a body type. Because I think at some point someone's good enough to just where it's like it doesn't matter. Like for perfect example, Caleb Downs, right? Now, Marquise Gallegos is not as good as Caleb Downs. Period. Point blank, right? Caleb Downs is better than Marquise Gallegos at basically everything, right? But I do think that he is. I think he's a better football player than every other safety on Notre Dame's board. Okay, that's what I think. And this isn't against Paul Mankey at all. I think he's a good take. I think he's a good safety. I think he's at least as good as a Don Schuler, who was in Notre Dame's class last cycle, and everyone was very excited about. Right? This is a good take for Notre Dame. Okay, this is nothing. I don't love canceling, and this is where I need to be. Like, I really need to kind of check myself, right? Show some humility on the way that I talk about these things, and I think everyone needs to in the way they think about these things, because our opinion is, we can watch the film, right? We can watch the highlights, and we can look at the offer lists and all those other things. We can do those things. We don't talk to the players. We don't talk to them. We don't know where their head is at. We don't know how they interact with the other recruits. We don't know how they fit. We don't know any of these things, right? So when I say, like, Marquise Gallegos is my favorite safety on the board, that's just from watching him, right? I don't have a relationship with him the way that the coaches do, and so I'm not gonna kill Chris O'Leary for this. All I'm saying is, I think that I don't like Marquise Gallegos canceling him. I don't. I think they should. I think you got to try to stack these guys on top of each other, right? Bring in Paul Mankey, and then bring in Marquise Gallegos, right? Bring in Bronte Johnson. Take all of them. Why not? Like, I don't understand that, And I know Davis Andrews is coming. I know Davis Andrews is coming in. I don't even count him as a 2024. I think he's going to be a 2026 guy. I think he's going on a mission. So to me, it's like the Marquise Gallegos or the Davis Andrews thing. I don't even see that as like a factor in this, right? I don't. Like Oliver Miles, I do. Ziegler, I do. But I think Marquise Gallegos is better than all those guys. So why not? Like, unless, Marquise Gallegos, again, you get word he's going to stay on the West. It's not worth the time. No, it's the. Are you talking about Malcolm? Rajon, are you talking about Malcolm Ziegler? That's who we're talking about. I don't. Let's say, so I like his film. But again, Rajon might be talking. Is he a safety? I don't know. I don't know if he is, right? And that's the problem. Marquise Gallegos is a safety. That. Like, I like Ziegler. Like I said, I like Gallegos better than all those guys. Bring him in. Like, I don't like canceling the visit. I don't. And I think Notre Dame should push for him. Maybe he said, like, hey, I'm not into it, right? And maybe that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, maybe Notre Dame said no. Like, maybe Notre Dame stopped talking to him. And Notre Dame was the ones who were just kind of, they softened, and then he softened, and then it's like, it's like, oh, well, he's not into it, right? Like, he wants to stay on the West Coast, and you stop talking to him, right? Personally, I don't think that it's Mankey who took the position. I think it might be Bronte Johnson, okay? Because when he got into the picture, suddenly Marquise Gallegos was out of the picture, right? Which I like Bronte Johnson too. So it's like, it's not like I don't like these guys. It's just, I really liked Marquise Gallegos. As everyone knows, I thought he was their best safety. And if he's, Terry Gillery says take 5. One of them could be a Harrison Smith. You could, sure, right? Why not? Like, I don't think that's the thing. And Rajon brought it up too. Like, I don't think Urlacher is a safety. I don't think he's going to play there. But I think Notre Dame does, and so I think they're counting him. Like, could the class just be Urlacher and Mankey and Bronte Johnson? It could. Why couldn't it? That's very possible, right? So I guess we're just going to have to let it play out. I'm not thrilled about that aspect of it, but, we'll see. I do like Bronte Johnson. We haven't talked about him as much because he was not an option for Notre Dame. And then he became an option. And so I think earlier in the cycle, it was like he's going to be in the class and everyone was excited about it. And then it dropped off. It sounded like it might be he couldn't be a take, not from a non-talent point of view. It wasn't a talent thing. It's like there was like a grades issue that needed to be sorted, and they weren't sure if it would be sorted, but it sounds like it has been sorted, in which case Notre Dame can take him now. I like him in the same way that I like Paul Mankey, in that Mankey knows he's a safety. Bronte Johnson wants to be a wide receiver. Other schools are looking at him as wide receiver. I think he's been convinced by people who are close to him, who he trusts, that have said, you are a safety. This is your future to be a safety, right? I think on that front, he has got incredible length. He could have incredible range, right? We're talking about a single high type guy, sideline to sideline, middle of the field to sideline, that sort of thing. I think as an offensive player, he's got the ball skills. He's what we call a baller, right? So he is a playmaker. He will be a playmaker. And I think that if you get him in the class with Paul Mankey, there's obviously the length there. Jason Smith says he's a midfielder. That's a soccer term. So are you talking about soccer? Is that what we're talking about? If so, then let's go. I can talk about that. But so that's where it is. I think he's a good player. I think him fit with Paul Mankey Jr. I think that's a good fit, right? If that's where it ends up. And so, I guess to kind of put a cap on it, I think Notre Dame has a good chance to go 5 for 5 this weekend. I'm adding Bronte Johnson into that. He's on campus now. He's gonna leave his visit next weekend. Center fielder, I think Notre Dame, and I think that I understand that center fielder. I definitely see that with Bronte. So I think Notre Dame could go 5 for 5 here. The only one I'm not sure about is Gerby Lambert, which is a pretty big one considering the offensive line. But I do think that if Notre Dame gets Prescott in fold, if you just took 3, that's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Okay. It's not ideal. I think you always want 4. If the 4th is Gerby Lambert, then I think you're good. I don't think that if Notre Dame, if they don't love anybody, I think they really like Gerby Lambert. I think if Gerby Lambert ends up somewhere else, I think you might just stick with 3. It's not a great class. Okay. You look to 2025 to fill out that way. Because right now, I don't know that there's anyone that they really love. Okay. Grant Brooks is not coming. He's not making the trip. And so I think they need to close on Lambert and then finish out the offensive line there. If they don't, I think you could keep it where it is. It sounds to me like Kedron Young is going to be in the class. It sounds like Xavier Robinson is going to get moved on. I'm curious what they do with Davis Andrews, if he's going to be a take, if he's going to be a 2026. Like I think he will be. Right, he has said he's going to take a mission, and if he's going to take a mission, that if he's taking his mission, he is a no-brainer take to me. Like file him away, take the commitment, sign him up, let him go, and see where it is when he comes back. Kind of like Kanu Kia, right? That's a no-brainer take. And anyone who says, it's a bad take, I think you're completely wrong. Because he's not going to be on campus. Like you're it's an investment. You're taking an investment. Terry Gillery says Ian Moore was a mistake. I'd like to hear more about that. Why do you say that? I'm curious. I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm wondering why you're saying that. Jason Smith says Brooks said he's working on something getting set up. Never set a visit up, from my understanding. Yeah, look, a lot of guys, right? There's a lot of guys like this where. And I don't know, and Jason, I don't know if that's another site's report or anything like that. I I've heard that from Matt and Christian. That's where I'm going off of. And so I'm not trying to put anyone else's information on our channel is what I'm trying to say. But Matt's talked about it where he was going to come and then he didn't. And then it's whenever that happens, it's just kind of like, look, you gotta weed that out as fans. You got to keep that in your mind. Like if you keep hearing about a guy who's going to come, and then just kind of ends up not, right? Like that's not good, right? Like you're not going to land him. And frankly, there's a little bit of that with Justin Scott as well. Now there's less of it because here's the thing with Justin Scott. He has come a lot. He's been to campus a bunch for Notre Dame, right? That's who Notre Dame is talking about here. Does it seem like Notre Dame doesn't love the 5-star D-line from Chicago? Forget his name. You're talking about Justin Scott. I think Notre Dame does. I mean, I don't know about love. They want him in the class very, very much. They definitely want him in the class. It's just that, they got to go through the process. When he went to Georgia this weekend, I thought there was a quote. I saw a quote on Twitter. I think he might have given it to On3. It was just a little photo. So credit to On3 if they were the ones who got this quote. But he said, Georgia is tied with Notre Dame and Notre Dame and Miami for the number 1 spot. In my opinion, what do we always say? If you come into your official visit behind and you leave tied, you're done. You're done because you got to be in front. You got to jump teams because Notre Dame hasn't taken an official of Notre Dame. He's going to take an official to Miami, right? This seems like a Miami Notre Dame thing at the moment. Notre Dame really needs to win that. They need to win Notre Dame, Miami. I could understand like Georgia or Alabama or something because it's different, right? Like those teams turn out the 5 stars. They turn out the first round picks. They do. They just do. Notre Dame needs to win that. If it's Notre Dame and Miami, I don't care about the NIL stuff. Notre Dame's NIL program needs to be good enough to where it's like, hey, you are not going from Chicago all the way down to Miami to play for a program that no one knows about, that has not done anything of substance in years. They need to win it. They absolutely need to win it. And I think they can. I go back and forth on it. I think some of when I say behavior, I just mean saying you're going to come and then not. That's what I mean by behavior, right? I don't mean like the way he acts or anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like when that stuff makes me worried a little bit. And it would make me worried. Drunk Vigo is down on that. Notre Dame ain't getting no 5-star D lineman. Don't matter if it's from Chicago or not. Okay, maybe. I don't know. It obviously I think the Miami thing makes us nervous because of the NIL piece, right? And they have like if NIL wasn't a concern, if it wasn't a factor at all, I don't think anyone would be worried. Notre Dame should win this recruitment against Miami. They should. Yeah. Jason Smith says his mom had those Notre Dame green nails in his UGA picture. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she definitely did. So David Solomon says he's supposedly coming to the Ohio State game. Supposedly, right? He was supposedly coming to the spring game and he didn't. So we'll see. I don't like it when we start to hear things like he doesn't need to come to Notre Dame because he's been a bunch. There's nothing more he needs to see, right? I don't like that. That's spin to me when people start saying that stuff. He doesn't need to, but they usually do. If you go to the school, if you want to go to the school, you show up as often as you can. That's how it is. That's how it's always been. When guys start saying, oh, I've been there enough, I don't need to go back. Well, that's just you go to the place where you like to be. Let's see. Joe Bro says if it's up to the parents, it's Notre Dame. Maybe. We'll see. Miami does way better in Chicago than a lot of people realize. Maybe they do, but I think it's not that they can't do well. It's that Notre Dame needs to do well. For whatever reason, there's like a pipeline from IMG, like Chicago to IMG, for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe someone could look into it. But yeah, that's something that's going on. So I think that's where it is with Justin Scott. I think Notre Dame is obviously hoping for him. They picked up a commitment from Sean Civiano, and that's good, right? So they're sitting there, 17 commitments, number 3 on 247 composite. And I think the number to me is the average composite rating, which is trending down, right? So it's 90.5. Last year it was in the 91s. And so, not to make the comparison, but like 90.5 is a quote unquote BK class. Okay. Which that opens itself up to like a kind of a longer conversation about Marcus Freeman. And, it's not that BK was a terrible recruiter or anything like that. He wasn't. BK's maybe best skill was building a program that was, that would win 10, 11 games, sometimes 12 games, right? But he couldn't get over the top. The Marcus Freeman promise was, I'm going to get the guys to bring Notre Dame over the top. I'm less of an X and O guy. I'm more of a Jimmy's and Joe's guy, right? So you got to get more Jimmy's and Joe's, right? So Notre Dame has currently 2 players in the top 150 in composite, in Cam Williams and CJ Carr. Now, granted, those are very important. Those are very important positions, right? Quarterback and wide receiver. Need that. Got to have it, right? I think there's a good chance Isaiah Canyon jumps up in the rankings a little bit, but that's time will tell. But Notre Dame has 2 in the top 150 right now. You could say, if they land Justin Scott, if you land Bronte Johnson, if you land Gerby Lambert, right? Now, obviously, you got a lot more, right? So Rajon's making the point right now. You land those guys, the average comes up, right? It does. So it's a very important month is what I'm trying to say. Very important month. Coach Hump says, Greg, is it a fair statement to say that if it is a Notre Dame versus Miami battle for Scott, then academics is very far down the priority evaluation list? No, because Notre Dame is an option. If it wasn't, like if he didn't care about academics, then Georgia would be a bigger player, or Ohio State or something, right? The fact that he has Notre Dame up there, you have to have some interest in academics if you have Notre Dame as a finalist for you. So I think it matters. I don't know what it is with Miami. I mean, maybe he just vibes with it, maybe he does. And that's, maybe Mario Cristobal is doing a really good job with him, and that's fine. But I just think Notre Dame needs to win it. You need to win that one, and especially because they're in it. Michael Dallas fan. I'm gonna say Michael Campbell. BK couldn't land the impact positions with top talent. So what's the point of the recruiting rankings Kelly era had? True. I guess it's true. He didn't land the guys. I mean, he didn't land the wideouts, and he didn't land the quarterbacks. I mean, he landed some, right? Phil was top, Brandon was top, but he missed. Those were misses. So, I mean, there's a lacking in the evaluation standpoint. So here's the thing. Jason Smith said Miami has pretty good academics. Rajon says Miami's a pretty good school for football players is the question. There's a difference between, like, Alabama is a good academic school, right? Michigan is a very good academic school. But there's a difference between having good academics and emphasizing those academics, right? Because you don't have to. go there and get a good education, but you can also not. Notre Dame, education better be very important. It better be important because they are going to emphasize it, right? And that's the difference, right? Same with Stanford, same with Northwestern. Like if you go there, you got to take it very seriously. All right, I think that's what I'm going to leave it there for today. I think I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, so we'll be back Wednesday, and we'll talk about. And we're going to talk about the Irish invasion. We're going to talk more about recruiting. We're going to talk more about the Bronte Johnson visit. We're going to have some intel on that. So to recap, sounds like Notre Dame had a great weekend. Sound like they could go 5 for 5. And we're going to have to wait for updates on Gerby Lambert and see where that goes. But another very good recruiting weekend for Notre Dame. Have another one coming up. Jamie and I are going to talk about that on Wednesday. We're going to talk to Andrew Mentok about the incoming early enrollees. It's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. So head over to irishsportsdaily.com. Tons of info, tons of stuff coming in. Christian and Matt are writing articles like hourly almost. It's like kind of crazy how many updates they have in like 2024 guys, 2025. It's a really good show. Notre Dame says, great show. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. Thanks, Greg. Enjoy the show. Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you very much. Rajon says, I did okay without your wingman. It's tough, man. It's tough without Jamie here, but you got to do it for the people. Got to bring the content out for the people, and that's what I try to do. So have a good rest of the day, everyone, and we will talk to you again on Wednesday.